Hey everyone, you're watching Luxurious Tale. If you enjoy rich, emotional stories with powerful twists, kindly hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's dive straight into today's story. Michael Jones was not born into privilege, nor was he ever taught to expect kindness from the world. He grew up in a quiet, coastal town far from glamour, in a modest rented house that smelled permanently of engine oil and old books. His father, Leonard Jones, was a disciplined dock worker who believed dignity came from effort, not applause, while his mother, Evelyn Jones, was a school librarian who filled Michael's childhood with stories about resilience, consequence, and moral choice. From a young age, Michael learned how to listen more than he spoke, how to observe people carefully, and how to carry responsibility without complaint. He worked odd jobs through high school, cleaning boats, repairing radios, shelving books, saving every dollar not because he was greedy, but because he feared helplessness more than hunger. Michael's dream was not wealth. It was control over his own fate. He wanted a life where decisions were his alone, where no landlord could threaten eviction and no employer could dictate his worth. Even then, Michael kept notebooks filled with ideas, small business plans, investment sketches, and handwritten reminders about integrity. He believed deeply that success without character was failure in disguise, a belief that would later clash violently with the world he was about to enter. College introduced Michael to temptation and ambition in equal measure. He studied economics and engineering simultaneously, driven by obsession rather than balance, often sleeping in the library and skipping meals to finish prototypes that no professor had assigned. It was during this period that he met Clara Reynolds, a kind, sharp-witted woman with a gentle voice and a mind that challenges relentlessly. Clara came from a broken home but carried optimism like armor, and she believed in Michael before he believed fully in himself. Their connection was slow, deliberate, rooted in late-night conversations about purpose, ethics, and fear. Michael confided his anxieties about becoming irrelevant, about ending up like men he saw at the docks, tired, resentful, forgotten. Clara shared her own wounds, her fear of being abandoned, her desire to build something lasting. They were never reckless together. They were intentional. When Michael's first startup failed catastrophically, taking his savings and pride with it, Clara stayed. When his second idea was rejected by every investor in the city, she encouraged him to try again. Yet life was not patient. Clara's sudden illness forced her to leave the city for extended treatment. And during that time, communication thinned under pressure, distance, and exhaustion. Decisions were made out of fear rather than malice. And when Clara left permanently, Michael believed incorrectly, that love was a distraction he could no longer afford. Charlotte Jones entered the world quietly, without ceremony or witnesses who mattered. She was born in a small suburban hospital on a rainy night, to a mother who held her with equal parts love and exhaustion. Clara never spoke Michael's name to Charlotte, not out of bitterness, but because she believed unanswered questions could poison a child's peace. Charlotte grew up knowing only fragments, that her father had dreams, that he was kind once, and that life had separated them before explanations were possible. Clara worked multiple jobs, nursing aide, seamstress, part-time tutor, raising Charlotte with strict values and gentle discipline. Charlotte learned early how to be invisible when necessary and resilient always. She loved sketching cityscapes she'd never seen, reading secondhand novels, and volunteering at shelters even when she herself had little. Poverty never hardened her. It refined her empathy. When Clara passed away after years of quiet illness, Charlotte was left alone in the world at 19, carrying grief without guidance. She did not cry loudly or dramatically. She learned how to survive, working as a cleaner, assistant, and errand runner, believing that dignity did not depend on circumstances. She never imagined her life intersecting with power, wealth, or cruelty. She simply believed in honest work and hoped someday to belong somewhere. While Charlotte struggled to find stability, Michael Jones was climbing methodically, ruthlessly, and unintentionally losing pieces of himself along the way. His third venture, a logistics technology company, succeeded beyond expectation. Contracts multiplied, investors swarmed, and within a decade, Michael was a billionaire whose name carried weight in boardrooms and headlines alike. His parents passed away proud but distant, their values increasingly incompatible with his world. Michael surrounded himself with advisors, lawyers, assistants, and admirers, yet remained emotionally solitary. He avoided personal history, avoided looking back, avoided questions that did not generate profit. When guilt surfaced, unexplained heaviness, sudden restlessness, he drowned it in work. To the public, Michael Jones was disciplined, brilliant, and untouchable. Privately, he was hollowed by something unnamed. He funded charities anonymously, supported education initiatives quietly, and avoided interviews that asked about family. He believed the past was settled, unaware it was simply waiting. Sharon Tyler entered Michael's life through proximity, not coincidence. She was introduced at a corporate retreat by mutual associates who admired her beauty, poise, and ability to command attention effortlessly. Sharon was raised in affluence but not affection, taught early that status equaled safety. Her parents valued appearances, not intimacy, and Sharon learned to perfect charm as a survival skill. She studied fashion marketing, built a polished social media presence, and curated her personality to attract influence. Sharon did not fall in love with Michael Jones the man. She fell in love with Michael Jones the symbol. His wealth promised permanence. His reputation promised elevation. She admired his restraint, mistook his emotional distance for sophistication, and pursued him with patience masked as devotion. Michael, weary of solitude and impressed by her composure, allowed her closer. Sharon was attentive, strategic, and socially flawless. She fit seamlessly into his world. Over time, Michael convinced himself that comfort was love, that stability was intimacy. When he proposed, it was less a romantic leap and more a rational decision, one that would echo consequences he never anticipated. Charlotte's path crossed Sharon's world long before it crossed Michael's, though neither recognized the significance. Charlotte found work through an agency that placed her in event support roles, cleaning venues, assisting planners, managing logistics discreetly. She took pride in excellence, believing every task deserved respect. At a high-profile engagement gala hosted by Sharon, Charlotte worked unnoticed, absorbing whispered judgments and subtle cruelty without complaint. Sharon noticed her only as a background inconvenience, a poor girl who didn't belong among crystal chandeliers and tailored gowns. Charlotte noticed Sharon only as another wealthy woman who never met her eyes. Neither imagined their lives were bound by blood and consequence. Charlotte simply needed money to pay rent. Sharon simply wanted perfection surrounding her. Michael was absent that night, traveling for business, unaware that fate was arranging its pieces carefully, patiently, and without mercy. As wedding preparations intensified, Sharon's obsession with image escalated. She micromanaged guest lists, scrutinized staff, and demanded flawless execution. Any imperfection felt like an insult to her worth. Charlotte, assigned temporarily to assist with fittings and preparations due to her reliability, found herself increasingly under Sharon's scrutiny. Small mistakes, imagined or exaggerated, became reasons for humiliation. Sharon believed hierarchy was natural and visible. Charlotte believed endurance was strength. Michael, distracted by acquisitions and finalizing deals, trusted Sharon's judgment completely. He had no reason to suspect cruelty beneath elegance, no reason to look closely at the people she dismissed. Meanwhile, Charlotte felt an unexplainable pull toward a man whose name adorned invitations and headlines, though she had never met him. Something about Michael Jones stirred familiarity she couldn't explain. The world moved steadily toward a wedding destined to fracture illusions. Charlotte remained unaware of her origins. Sharon remained convinced of her superiority, and Michael remained blind to the consequences of emotional neglect. Each character carried private struggles. Sharon's fear of being replaceable, Michael's terror confronting the past, Charlotte's quiet longing for belonging. The stage was set not by speeches or ceremonies, but by choices made years earlier and ignored too long. What lay ahead was not merely humiliation, but revelation, one that would expose Bloodlines' character and the true cost of pride. I will continue seamlessly, maintaining absolute consistency, no repetition of scenes, no flashbacks, no contradictions, and a slow, emotionally charged progression toward revelation and resolution. The humiliation scene will occur in the middle, and consequences will unfold after, not rushed. The days leading up to the wedding unfolded like tightening knots. each pull drawing unseen threads closer together. Charlotte's role expanded without ceremony. Her reliability earned her proximity to preparations that demanded silence and obedience. She moved through couture-filled rooms, florist warehouses, rehearsal venues, and private estates with the quiet precision of someone accustomed to being overlooked. Each space carried a different temperature. Cold marble hallways where staff whispers echoed, warm studios heavy with perfume and judgment, outdoor gardens where planners argued about symmetry while ignoring the hands that made it possible. Charlotte absorbed it all without resentment, focusing on her work, finding solace in order. She spent evenings sketching the city skyline from her window, dreaming of a future where her value would be measured by effort rather than appearance. Sharon, meanwhile, grew sharper and more exacting. Her perfectionism masked anxiety about the guest list, the press, the optics of marrying one of the world's most scrutinized men. Sharon's family arrived early, bringing expectations and veiled critiques that amplified her need for control. Michael remained distant, approving decisions by proxy, trusting Sharon's vision, unaware that his absence had created a vacuum where cruelty could flourish unchecked. The rehearsal dinner was the first fracture. It was not public, but it was revealing. Charlotte was assigned to coordinate last-minute adjustments, seating changes, dietary requests, timing conflicts. Sharon noticed her again, this time with irritation sharpened by stress. A minor miscommunication, caused by a planner, not Charlotte, became an opportunity. Sharon corrected Charlotte loudly, pointedly, ensuring her parents and inner circle heard. The room went quiet, the way rooms do when power flexes without apology. Charlotte stood still, apologized once, and corrected the issue efficiently. Her composure unsettled Sharon, who mistook dignity for defiance. Michael arrived late, exchanged pleasantries, and missed the moment entirely. Later that night, Sharon vented about ungrateful staff, seeking validation. Michael listened but did not probe. He was tired. He was preparing for vows he believed would anchor him. He did not see how the smallest cruelty, left unchallenged, can metastasize into something irreversible. The wedding day dawned immaculate. The venue was a cathedral of glass and light, overlooking water that mirrored the sky, every detail calibrated for spectacle. Charlotte arrived early, dressed plainly, focused. She coordinated arrivals, smoothed crises, fixed a torn head minutes before the aisle walk. Sharon floated through it all, radiant and exacting, surrounded by praise that did little to soothe her nerves. When a delay threatened the processional, Sharon's patience snapped. In front of guests, photographers, and staff, she singled Charlotte out, accusations layered with contempt, assumptions sharpened into humiliation. Words fell like blades, about class, worth, and knowing one's place. The room froze. Charlotte felt heat rise to her face, but did not cry. She stood straight, eyes steady, and accepted the reprimand without pleading. Michael, standing nearby, heard everything. Something in Charlotte's posture, familiar, unyielding, cut through the noise. He intervened, calmly but firmly, ending the spectacle. Sharon laughed it off, but her smile was brittle. The ceremony proceeded, flawless on the surface, fractured beneath. After the vows, the reception unfolded with careful choreography, yet the air had changed. Michael found his attention drawn to Charlotte again and again, not out of pity, but recognition he couldn't place. He asked his assistant to learn more about her quietly. Sharon, sensing a shift she couldn't name, tightened her grip on appearances, ensuring Charlotte was reassigned away from visibility. Charlotte completed her tasks and prepared to leave early, shaken but intact. Outside, away from chandeliers and applause, Michael approached her. He thanked her. The simplicity of it stunned her more than the humiliation had. Their brief exchange, polite restrained, left both unsettled. That night, Michael could not sleep. Names, dates, fragments surfaced. He began to investigate methodically, the way he always did when uncertainty threatened control. The weeks that followed were a study in contrasts. Sharon basked in headlines, curated images, and social triumphs, yet sensed distance growing. Michael withdrew, not from obligation, but from comfort. His inquiries uncovered records, sealed details, and a truth that assembled itself with relentless clarity. Charlotte's birth certificate, Clara's medical records, timelines that aligned too perfectly to deny. Michael confronted the magnitude of what he had avoided for decades. He did not rush to claim. He prepared to prove, to protect, to understand. He arranged a private meeting with Charlotte under the pretense of compensation and apology. She arrived guarded, expecting formality. What she received was honesty, delivered with care and evidence. Charlotte listened in silence as the world she knew rearranged itself. She asked practical questions first, about Clara, about intent, about what this meant for her life. Michael answered everything without defense. The aftermath was not explosive. It was deliberate. Sharon discovered the truth through whispers and documents she was never meant to see. Her outrage gave way to fear, of displacement, of exposure, of losing the status she had built her identity upon. She confronted Michael, demanded loyalty framed as love. Michael chose responsibility. He acknowledged Sharon's hurt, without excusing her cruelty. Their marriage unraveled privately, with agreements and distance, not spectacle. Charlotte declined immediate wealth, requesting time, boundaries, and respect. Michael honored that. He supported her education, her choices, her pace. Charlotte moved into a modest apartment of her choosing, continued volunteering, expanded her sketches into a portfolio, and learned what belonging could look like when it was offered, not imposed. In the final movement, lives recalibrated. Sharon rebuilt herself away from Michael's shadow, confronting the cost of valuing appearance over character. Michael redefined success, investing time where money could not substitute presence. Charlotte, now secure in truth, pursued architecture with purpose, designing spaces meant to welcome rather than exclude. Their relationships evolved, not perfect, not easy, but honest. The story did not end with applause. It ended with accountability, growth, and new beginnings forged from recognition rather than revenge. That's the end of the story. What did you learn about the story? Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.